Ukraine's ambassador to the UK, Vadim Prisnayko, was involved in that. He's very kindly agreed to come into the programme as well. Good to see you as always. Thanks very much indeed for joining us. What on earth is going on with the Iranians?
We still have to investigate whether these ships were actually bringing in the ammunition, which was reported by Sky. If it is so, I wouldn't be surprised, because they were supporting Russia for some time and they were supplying much more expensive and dangerous things like drones. And they are in abundance right now. Yesterday we downed 13 out of 15 being sent our way. So what it's telling me that, first of all, the war is becoming global, so more and more players are getting in there, picking up their sides. And second, that Russia is actually running off everything, including the ammunition, if it is, again, the reports are true.
What difference will it make if Iran is involved in this way?
I believe they're making a huge, huge mistake, aligning with Russia, but seems like they don't have any other choice. They're looking for ways to, to sell anything, at least now. Also saying that Russia is not on advancement technological, they're dependent now on Iranian things. I guess that we'll have to talk to Iran. We are doing it. We have our embassy there where we're still maintaining contacts with Iran. They're denying anything, including the drones. But surely we will, step by step, we will bring them understanding that that's not the side, the wrong side they picked. So
Ukraine has reached out to Iran to say what's going on?
They always say, no, it's not us. If anything, you would find in Russians deposit this was maintained by us because we supplied it like long time ago for the different contracts just before the war, all of this. But unfortunately, these ships, if it's true that they came, they can't tell that there was before the war. It's now, as we see.
Yeah, both of them are pariah states, Russia and Iran, so perhaps you can see their allegiance there. What if China gets involved?
China is playing a very careful game. You see that they came recently with their sort of offer for the peace. And it's not nothing new. It's a very neutral position, trying to please everybody else. But that's actually, that's what we expect from China, to stay neutral in this conflict, to try to understand what we're trying, what's not against China. We have our enemy, China is not.
Do you feel that China will stay neutral?
They will try to stay neutral because they're so much dependent, first of all, on international law, and they're always saying that's the territorial integrity, that's the key for everything, the sovereignty of the nations. And second, they are so interdependent with the rest of the world. It's not like Russia, which only saying oil and look at it, the price is down, the economy is suffering tremendously. China is involved in all the economies around the globe, so I understand they get the message. And the third message they received, that if they do something stupid, there is the whole big coalition of Western nations to come to their help.
The other issue, though, of course, as far as China getting involved is concerned, is that they have a big influence in Eastern Africa with countries that at the moment have remained neutral. If China does get involved, that would change significantly.
I agree. I agree with you, but don't forget that Soviet Union also had this influence. And now Lavrov was running around these nations of Africa trying to get support. And if you look at the last vote in UN, there's not much he managed to gather, because nations are also having their own interests and they understand that their well-being, all the nations, young nations, is actually dependent on respect to their borders, to their sovereignty, to their integrity, territorial. And that's exactly what's threatened now with the Ukrainian conflict.
Talk to me about what's been going on with this Nord Stream 2 pipelines. Suggestions coming out of the United States, New York Times have done an investigation, and they say a pro-Ukrainian group was responsible for blowing up these pipelines.
Yeah, almighty Ukrainian, yeah. I don't believe that this is anything, at least as of now, to be true. Even Russians are telling us some rubbish.
What if it's not rubbish?
If it's not, if it's investigated, we will see.
Would they have had the authority, if it is true? I mean, it could be that President Zelensky didn't know anything about it. It could be that he sanctioned what happened. If that is the case, what impact do you think that would have on the support for Ukraine?
So far, we understand that would please Russians than anybody else, because for over the years they wanted to show that everybody is dependent on their oil and gas. If anything happens with the supply, everybody will freeze down to dust. That's why actually we're making even the advertisement this year that all Europe is dying because of the frost and everything. They cut supply in Ukraine, so the next logical step would be to cut half of supply somewhere else. That is why, in my opinion, just the half of these pipelines were blown up.
I understand that, Mr. Ambassador, but what about if it was Ukraine supported?
It's just a bit premature to discuss things like what would happen if. We believe that nothing, there is no now our involvement there. I'm not just talking about technically how difficult it is to do it. I'm just telling that's totally against our own interest. And actually, even through the war, which we had 7 years, we were still maintaining the supply to Europe through our pipelines of Russian gas, just to show how reliable the Ukrainian supply is.
What's life like in Ukraine at the moment? You know, we've got a little bit of snow here and everybody's petrified of the snow. The
I'm surprised myself.
The weather in Ukraine, bitterly cold at the moment. How are people coping, given that you don't have the energy supplies that you need?
We can say safely that we went through the harshest time of our winters, somewhere in the middle of February, usually. And our network survived. We just once had a total blackout, but because of we are supplied mostly by nuclear energy, we are second only to France in nuclear generation, we managed to get through it. And all the support which we need, we had. And don't forget that 8 million of us already outside of the nation, and half of the economy is not working. So the combination of all these factors allowed us to get through this winter.
And on a more positive note, I hear that you're organising rather a flashy concert at Wembley.
We're organizing with you, and we're quite happy that you actually won second place, and we're logically given the chance to run the Eurovision.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking about the Wembley concert.
Oh, the Wembley, yes. We're doing so many things, you're right,
yes.
this year. That's a huge thing. We wanted to do something like on a Live Aid style 1985, which brought the attention of the whole world to the problem in Africa. We believe that something can be done again to tell people the story of Ukraine and remind them after the year, by that time, and a half of a year of the conflict. I believe that will be great. We're reaching out to the many A-class artists. We will see.
OK. Well, we wish you well in that endeavour. It's always great to see you. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.